Yeah, everything is okay here in Mexico except the internet, everyone. But long story short, everything else is going great. Trainings have been at a high level, and I think the group is excited to be down here, and I think we're getting a lot of work done. As I've said before, what we're able to accomplish here as opposed to last year at this time is just quite a bit more. We have a good feel for who we are, so we're really able to hit the ground running and the game model and incorporate the new guys in a quicker way, just be clearer to everybody about what we want to do and dive deeper into that. So that's been a big focus here of making sure everybody's clear on how we're going to go about trying to win games.
All right, Dustin, go ahead.
Hey, Ben.
Dustin.
Hey, obviously with Hector out, you guys are having to shuffle some things around. How are you kind of looking at that? Are there players on the roster that are going to fill Hector's role? Or are there outside players? We've heard some rumors about guys like Jan Gregus. How do you kind of fill in Hector's role just in general?
Yeah, I think the Jan Gregus rumors aren't crazy. I don't think they're out of left field. Brooklyn's been getting a lot of minutes in that spot. So, just like during the season or at any point when someone's out, it's just opportunity. It's opportunity for players to step in and show us what they have, but it's also opportunities for us to grow as a staff and to kind of see what we have internally. Can we solve some of this stuff with the players we have, or do we need to go outside and fix some of these holes that are popping up? So it's no different than most preseasons. It's still kind of discovering who we are, even though we have a good feel. We've got a lot of guys back. When a player of Hector's caliber, and not of his caliber, but how critical he is to what we do, in particular on the offensive end, it's very, very tough to replace that. So you do it in different ways. You don't, certainly not a one-for-one. We don't have a Hector light. But when someone's out, it's sometimes you're surprised on who will step up, or that maybe you have to go about the game in a different way. So that's that discovery process that we're in right now as a staff, and it's a great challenge, and it's actually as much as we'd love to have Hector with us, it's an enjoyable thing for coaches to try to figure out this puzzle, and we did spend a lot of time last year figuring out the puzzle and how we're going to win games, and so nothing's really changed in that way. But hopefully we'll get him back in the early parts of the season at some point. We won't give a timeline on him, but he's certainly going to be back with us, and but in the short term, we've got some things to think about.
And Nelson Quinones looked like got injured last night for Colombia. Do you have any update on that? Have you spoken to Nelson or anyone with Colombia?
We have some updates on our end, but we're not really until we get him back into market and get our doctors and scans on him. I don't think we want to get into that. I'll say it didn't look good, as everyone saw, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It's a real shame for a young kid that was really hitting his stride. But again, another area where if he is out for a longer stint, it's opportunity for someone else to step in, and the same question comes about, is whether do we have that internally to kind of fill that void, or is that something we need to go find outside of our group?
All right, Maggie, go ahead.
Thanks, Ben.
Yep.
Hey, Coach, Howard, for you.
Hi, Maggie. How are you?
I'm good. All right. One of your favorite things of traveling is the cuisine. One of your favorite things down there that you've eaten so far.
We're being very spoiled here. The food has been delicious. Lunch, dinner, we got real bougie here. We brought our chef down with us. He's working with a chef that we usually use down here that is connected to the Mexican national team. So they are spoiling us rotten with the Mexican cuisine, and it's that part is really, really good. I'm putting on a couple pounds though because I can't stop going back for seconds. Yeah, it's all good. Come on down, guys. We'll feed you.
Well, the fact that you just said bougie kind of is really funny. I did not realize that was in your wheelhouse. Another question, because you kind of answered my other two. What does hustling for more mean to you, the new slogan for the Dynamo?
I've been seeing it a little bit on the social media, and it's not something necessarily I've come up with, and I think there's a lot of people that are pushing that narrative, but I think it's the right one. And to me, it's, we talk about last year and how much, the success we had and holding a trophy and advancing to the kind of another finals on the Western Conference. And, it's always a tricky year after you have success. And, making sure that our bellies aren't full and that hunger is still within this group, because that's really what I think got us to where we were at last year. It wasn't, that we were always better than teams. There were many teams that were that we ground out results. We had a little bit more resiliency than them. And it wasn't perfect for a long time, but we had a nice spirit about us. We had a nice hunger about us. We had something to prove. And all those things, I think, at times put us over the top in matches and allowed us to have some success. This us against the world mentality and that and real clear goals and making playoffs. But now it's a different year. And, it'll be tougher. Teams understand who we are. They'll find out ways to stop us, and we're going to have to kind of reinvent ourselves as we go. But the fire in our bellies can't fade away. It just can't, or you just won't have success. We need it. All those intangibles that we talk, all those cliches. We have to have those this year, and we got to get better on the field.
Yeah, last thing, I know I said that was last one, but you mentioned holes in the midfield with Hector being out, and this is a chance for people to step up. Last availability on Media Day, Sebastian Kowalczyk said that his preferred spot would be kind of getting back into the midfield. That's where he feels that he thrives, but he really just wants a spot on the field just to help the team. What have you seen in preseason so far? Because he's willing to step up to the plate.
We've used him at a few different spots last year, and unfortunately for him, and fortunately for us, we had a lot of health in whether it was Amin or Coco. They played a bunch of games, and they were very, very durable. And that kept him off the field for the most part down the stretch. But he's a guy that, if that wasn't the case, and we had to pop him in for Amin for a game or two, or play him in Coco's spot, that I would rest easy knowing that I would have to play him the next day. He's a competitor. I think he will take a step up this year. It always takes a little bit of a transition for some guys. Some do it at different paces, and some have different opportunities at different times. And he just didn't have enough looks last year to really show us where he was at. Again, because of the health and because of the quality that Amin and Coco, the quality that they were bringing each week. So this year, he's going to see more minutes for sure, and he's going to play a bigger role. And if he's playing at the level that we know he can, that competition for spots is a very healthy thing. And going back to your question of wanting more, it's also internal competition. And can we bring in new guys, and can we bring in new looks for the starters to push them so they don't feel comfortable? And he's one of those guys we're going to look to push the starters to get into that lineup.
Thank you so much, Coach.
All right, Maggie.
Cesar, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Coach. Hope you can hear me well. I'm glad you're doing well out in Guadalajara, enjoying it. I had a couple of questions for you. At the beginning of the season, you're facing the St. Louis at the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and a few days later you start off the season. Are you prioritizing for either one more than the other? Meaning, are you looking for stacked starting 11 to face CONCACAF, or are you trying to focus more on the season at the beginning of the tournament?
It's a good question. Just as a couple weeks ago, I had our goal is to get into the postseason again, and I've said this from the get-go: is sustaining a postseason spot is, to me, the definition of helping turn this franchise around, and so putting ourselves in positions to win trophies, and in particular the MLS Cup. So that's going to be the priority for us over the next year or two, and that won't change. But now you find yourself in these other opportunities, whether it's Champions League, Champions Cup, the Leagues Cup, Open Cup. Who knows what's going to happen there? And you just go after them in the best way you can. But you can't do it this early. You cannot go play your first 11 on Tuesday and then home opener against KC, and then hit St. Louis again at home, and then New York at home the following weekend. You just can't do it. Not at this stage of preseason or right at the beginning of the year. You'll set yourself up to not have success because of the guys just aren't ready to put those minutes in. So we're going to have to make some decisions in that, and yes, I suppose there will be some. We will have to prioritize a little bit, but I think you'll see that it'll be evident as we get into this. But it'll be it'll be a mixed bag in how we go about it, and everyone's going to see time in those first 2 weeks. But that doesn't mean we're not going after it, right? So there's this. You can prioritize, but we're still going after every game to win and have success and advance in CONCACAF. But it doesn't mean you're going to do that necessarily with your playing the same 11 for 2 weeks straight in 4 games.
And my last one, any highlights or anything that stands out to you in this preseason with some of the players out in Guadalajara?
It's a lot of returning guys, so they're returning in good form, and I think, as I said, I'm pleasantly surprised at how clear they are on how we play. And that's a big difference between when we first got here and now, and that's part of the progress that we've made as an organization. As far as new guys coming in, I guess I'm sure someone will ask about Sebastian Ferreira. He's not a new signing, but he is new to us this year again. And he's been really sharp and engaged. He scored a goal the other day, which is always nice for him. And he's looked, again, as good as I've seen him since I've been here. And he's going to have the benefit now of playing with our team when we are clear in what we're doing. Right? Keep in mind, when he came to us, we were a work in progress, and we were figuring things out. And as we go now, and as we understand who we are more, hopefully that allows him to have more success with this organization under this new staff.
Herman, go ahead.
Hola, Ben.
Hola.
How are you?
Bien, gracias.
That was my question, actually. I just want you to touch a little bit more on it. Now, you touch on a very important point. We have a playing philosophy. We know it very well from last year. And I just wanted to ask about Sebas. Is he understand his responsibility in your system? It's more about the goals. It's about the team first, hustling. Has those responsibilities been laid out for him? And what did you see against Chivas that you liked? Because we heard, and maybe you can confirm that he did score that one goal, the 31st.
Well, I can confirm that. I didn't know that was a big secret. But it is, there you go. Breaking news. I think we have to take it with a grain of salt. The Chivas team was a mix of under 23 kids and some youngsters, but it was a high level under 23 team for sure. What I've liked. Again, I liked how engaged he has been in the process and training and asking questions, and so within that, there's a lot of time being spent off the field and making sure we're very, very clear with what we want out of him, so he can stay on the field and have success with us. And it's nothing complex. Again, making sure he understands our pressing triggers. What we expect on him on the defensive end. So there's still an education process going on with Sebastian, because he hasn't been with us for the last, half of a year, where we did, as you said, kind of have a little bit more of a clear identity of how we're going to go about it. So it's feeding him the game model, on a collective side, but also making sure individually he knows what we want from him, and gaining trust with him in that if he does this, he will have success. And that's a big part of this. We can throw stuff at him, but we got to make him believe that if he follows what we are, the advice or the education that we're giving him, if he follows this, he will have the success that he wants here, and the team will have success. And so that's a challenge. As I said, that's a challenge for him, and it's a challenge for us as a staff to get that buy-in.
That's awesome here. And speaking of players returning and opportunities for players, what can you tell me about Ibrahim Aliyu? Now with Thor leaving the team, where do you see him fitting in this year in the squad and the opportunity in front of him?
Well, we'll be adding some depth in the forward spot, and as we go here to kind of replace Thor's absence. We know Ibra can play in there, up high as a 9, alone or with someone else, but he brings some real versatility for us. We've been using him quite a bit now on the left as a left midfielder. He feels very comfortable there, and as we look at the Nelson situation, and if it's what we fear, that's a spot that we're going to need to get some depth and help in. And he's played there many times. I think, again, he's very comfortable in there. And if we now add more of a secondary forward, I think he could spend some real minutes out there, and I think he can be really effective. He'll do it in a different way than Nelson, and him or Brad Smith, another guy that has shown very well so far in this preseason, playing that role, more of a midfielder. I know he's used to playing that back, but both of them run without the ball and really look to get behind defenses, and that's something we're looking forward to working on Nelson with, not just being in isolation, but also being dangerous without the ball. Both Ibrahim and Brad Smith have done a very, very good job of off-the-ball movement and pushing lines back and getting more service in those areas.
Good deal. Thank you, Coach, and best of luck tomorrow with Tecos.
Thank you.
All right, 2 more here. We'll go with Sam and then Kyle to wrap it up.
Hi, Coach.
Sam.
You doing, sir?
All good, baby.
I don't mind my voice, but I've been celebrating the Nigerian win today against Angola in the AFCON.
It's been a fun tournament, huh?
Yeah, I just flew in 2 days ago from Ivory Coast. So, Coach, second year with the team and your second preseason. Compared to last season, what are you doing differently in this preseason?
I'm not doing much different. I am who I am. I coach how I coach. We're putting them to the test. I got a good support system here with Paul Caffrey, and they're doing a great job physically to get these guys prepared. But we're pushing them. We're pushing them and educating them and making sure, again, we're fit, we're clear, and we're hungry. And those three things, I think, if we can keep plugging away at that, if we get a few additions in here to kind of spark the team and get some of these healthy guys back, I think we can be a team that has some success this year. But we got a lot of work to do. Each year is so different. I've done this enough now where this journey that we'll go on this year is going to be a completely different. It's going to have different hurdles. It's going to have different successes. It's going to have different failures, and it's what's so great about each year. But the optimism is high with the group. The energy's good, and we're just looking forward to the games here. They're very, very important for us right now. We have not had a lot of games in Houston, so each one of these is good for us moving our game model forward, but also identifying now. We've got some new little pieces in there, again with Nelson and Hector out, and now Corey Baird's not in, and Sebastian's. But there are some movements. As much as we're returning a bunch of fellas, we still have some new pieces to fit in. So this is a discovery process for us over the next couple games, and then we go back home and go to Orlando for kind of one final preseason tune-up, and then we get moving. So it's going to happen quick, but I think we're in a good environment to keep pushing this group.
Right, the depth of squad has always been what you've been talking about, and now you have teenage out now with the team. Gaspar, Corey Baird, HH injured, Nelson injured. And there's this rumor on social media, former player about the lease on Dynamo. Rather, how true is that?
Which player?
About the lease.
Albert Elise? Yeah, no, I think that's a rumor. Someone brought that to my attention. I think Albert's a great player, don't get me wrong, and he'd be an interesting piece for us, but that's a rumor.
All right. Wish you all the best in preseason.
Okay, man.
All right, Kyle, go ahead.
Hey, Ben. Thanks for your time today. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Excellent. Kyle here from the Dynamo Faithful podcast. We have a recurring segment on our show called Ben's Bestie, where we highlight a few players each game week who had good showings. If Griffin is in the room, you can let him know he is the #1 nominee for Ben's Bestie each week. You've mentioned Sebas so far. Can you pick one or two other players who impressed you or stood out in the first preseason scrimmage this week?
Yeah, Brad Smith is one that I mentioned just before, but he had a very good game. Brooklyn showed pretty well for, again, he's still 18, and we're giving him, this is a great opportunity here as Hector's out, and Luis is, still in Colombia right now. It's a great opportunity to see others, and Brooklyn's going to be a guy that gets a bunch of minutes here in the preseason to further his development and see if he's ready to play more first-team minutes. So I would say those two showed very well. But nobody had a bad game. Again, we got to take this with a grain of salt. It was a younger Chivas team, and it was only 45 minutes. So, certainly all performances right now are with a grain of salt. When we play Orlando or Chivas in a week a few days, where They got some bigger boys and some pros on the field. I think that's when we'll really be able to fully test what we got right now.
Perfect, of course. And last question, with Tate Schmidt back for preseason, are you considering any new approaches tactically, such as pushing both flanks with Griffin and Tate? And follow-up here, do you expect newcomer Kieran Sargent to get some time as well out there?
Kieran looked, let me address Kieran. Kieran's looked really sharp so far. He's really sure of himself and how he goes about the game. He's clean technically. He's got a great engine, big lungs, up and down. So and I think he fits, fits how we play. I've been using him actually as a backup for Griffin right now as the kind of more advanced wingback spot. And he's left-footed, but he's doing pretty well with it on that right side. As far as pushing both wingbacks or outside backs forward, not necessarily right now, but there's times where we'll do that. It depends on who we're playing and what phase of the game we're in the attacking part. So I don't know. We'll continue to play a similar way that we did at the end of the year. And as I said, we'll have to adapt and we'll have to tweak as we go. And if it's working great, we'll keep fine-tuning it. If not, and as we go, we have to adjust tactically. Again, that's part of coaching, and we'll manage that as we go. But we got a bunch of different profiles. Tate, to answer your question, I've been playing him as a left back, a little bit more stay at home, but I also can see him playing in that kind of right-sided defense as well, where we're taking the leash off him. I could see putting him as a left midfielder at times. So he's a nice little versatile piece, and it's nice to have him back. He's looked sharp. He looks fit. At times a little rusty just because of the amount of time he's been out, but he'll play a part in this season for sure.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Anything else? One more? No?
All right, thanks everyone. We'll wrap it up there.